session 4 of the spiritual world. In John chapter 3, there's a story of a Pharisee by the name of Nicodemus, and he obviously saw something different in Jesus. And so he went to see Jesus at night so that his fellow Pharisees wouldn't know what he was doing. And he said to Jesus that he believed he must be from God because no one else could do the things he did unless God were with him. Jesus' answer was that he needed to be born again if he wanted to see the things of God. Now, being born again means that the Holy Spirit gives life to a person's spirit, and that's what brings about the new birth. A person's given a new way of being or a new life, the life of God within them. And once the Holy Spirit's at work within us, then we are alert to the presence of the spiritual world around us. And we have the ability to distinguish between what is of God and what is not. Points made by Paul in 1 Corinthians 1. No one knows the thoughts of God except the Spirit of God. And then he went on to say, what we speak is not in words taught to us by human wisdom, but in words taught by the Spirit, explaining spiritual realities with Spirit-taught words. And then he says, and the person without the Spirit does not accept the things that come from the Spirit of God, but considers them foolishness and cannot understand them because they're discerned only through the Spirit. So as a Christian, we need to allow the Holy Spirit to work powerfully within us so that we can understand the things of God and be alert to what is not of God. But there are spiritual forces that are not of God, and many people open themselves up to them. Sometimes they do it deliberately, but other times they do it without knowing what they're doing. Those who deliberately open themselves to the forces of evil are those getting into witchcraft and related things to that. They do so to get power and control. And that's a really strong thing within the human psyche. We want to have control over our lives and we like to have power. So areas of witchcraft have great appeal. And people who feel powerless or a bit insecure are very vulnerable to being caught up in those sorts of areas. Previously, we looked at how King Saul died because he had consulted a medium instead of consulting God. Now in Kings chapter 9 verse 22, Jehu is coming against King Ahab and his wife Jezebel because they had murdered Naboth and taken over his vineyard. As Jehu approached with his army, he was met by Joram, the son of Jezebel. And Joram asked him, do you come in peace? And Jehu replied, how can there be peace as long as all the idolatry and witchcraft of your mother Jezebel is abounding? 1 Samuel 16, the prophet Samuel confronted Saul who had disobeyed God, and he said, rebellion is as the sin of witchcraft, and arrogance like the evil of idolatry. Witchcraft is the opposite of obedience to God. I said before, some people get caught up in spiritual stuff that's not of God without realising it, and perhaps we'll take a look at that tomorrow.
Give me passion for your purity, Holy Spirit, breathe